And here we are, my little mapping legionaries, and welcome to the show. It is Monday. We are on Keystone Reforged. We're going to do a quick sound check. Everything looks like it's getting picked up nicely. My camera's good. This isn't bad. Kind of chopping off the top of my head, but I'm down here a lot of the time. It'll be okay. Alright. One quick adjustment here. There we go. I think we're in business. Okay, let's turn this on. Today, I am determined to start drawing buildings, so that's what I'm going to do. And if you are watching this after the fact, thank you very much for popping in. This is a good time to see how I go about thinking about and drawing city buildings and districts and neighborhoods. Oh my! Alright. And I don't want to... No, I don't want to do ink. I'm going to have a special building layer. Might make it easier to colour. I'm going to try and make life easier on myself. There we go. Okay. Got hair everywhere. Okay. So, one of the things about this map, if you haven't seen the other episodes, is that I actually drew this map originally, like back in the 80s or the 90s, probably the 90s, and it's kind of not awesome. Okay, I had limited tools, limited skill set. Come on, but it's not great, so we're redoing it. That's why it's reforged. But I want it to look like the old city, but not to the degree where this one also comes out looking crap. So I want certain key buildings to be the same. I want the general shape of the streets to be the same. Which brings me to this. This was a temple in the other one. So if I want to draw a temple here, so I think that's where I'm going to start. We'll do a temple. I think we're going to do some figures holding up their cloaks or something, because there's a waterfall coming from above, and it's going to flow that water into that area far, far, far down below. So I think we'll do this temple, and then we'll spread out from there. That's what I'm feeling. Okay. Shape may change. Okay, building layer. What is this? What is this single strand of hair? It's driving me nuts. Okay. I can move this building too, because it is the only building on this layer right now. So I'm just gonna get it drawn, and then we can rotate it and do all sorts of fun things. I wouldn't, by the way, normally make the building such a funny shape like as this. Not for a temple. I like my temples to be pretty uniform, but I can imagine maybe them having like antechambers and things like that. So we're gonna make it a little bit more. It's not even really even asymmetrical, is it? It's kind of just a plain funny shape. So, but I am gonna do this. I kind of want the front. Let's do that. Edit, stroke. Oh, let's bring this bad boy. Hello, Alex. Hello, young lady. How have you been? I was thinking about you. Hopefully you have been well. There we go. Now oh, maybe I should have left it completely as a dome. Oh yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do that. Let's actually bring that back. We're gonna make a dome. And okay, something like this. Where are my actions? There we go. Can I do this? Is this gonna work? Close enough, I think. Close enough. Bit wonky-fied in the end there, but I think it'll work. Why have you been avoiding streams for the week, Alex? Your sanity, a particular reason? Just to hit the reset button, take a break? Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now I kind of want to redraw the position of this doorway here, and I'm going to let's align it with that. In fact, yeah, that's all my draft stuff. Close enough. Close enough. In fact, let's do this a little bit differently. Yeah, not quite sure what I want to do with this. Not quite sure. Yeah, but maybe something like I'm not an architect. I can't design roofs. Yeah, these lines are definitely off, but I'm not gonna worry about it. Yeah, suitably grand. It's a bloody big temple. Alex, I kind of get that. I kind of get it. The internet, for as wonderful as it is, really brings out the worst in some people, because we don't have those, social boundaries, do we, that you would have in, regular life. So the arseholes start to come out, and they're thick and bloody fast out there. And I think it could be very, very, very tiring, you know, to do, especially in like your line of work, so to speak, because you're a lot of the time doing a lot of moderating. You're very actively involved and such. Yeah, it's kind of tough. What are you doing? What are you doing? This is not like you. Come on. Come on. We've got a cat who is absolutely one of the most loving cats I've ever encountered in my life. And actually, for the first few years of her life, she never meowed at all, you know. And then she discovered one day she could, which is kind of cute. Well, it feels like there's a missing bit right there. I'm gonna fix that right now. But recently, she's just been sort of like sitting there, meowing, just meowing, and it's not like a meow of distress. And she seems happy and loving, but it's very needy. Now she'll just be sitting there in the sun, meowing, and it's not like her, you know. There's almost this element of pay attention to me to it. And that's, like I say, there's no distress in her voice or anything like that. But she's still doing it. She came across, she got a quick fuss, she went back over in the sun, and she's just meowing. It's a little worrying because she's never been like this before. Okay, so how do I want to do this? I mean, what the hell does a statue look like? Leaning away from the cliff, holding something? A shield? Their cloaks? I don't even know what they're meant to be holding in between their hands. Maybe I'll come back to that when I actually do know what they're holding and what they should look like. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Let's stay with the buildings, because that's really what I wanted to do tonight. Now, this is the cliff edge. They're built out from the cliff edge, so strictly speaking, there wouldn't be an edge. But it would return here. So maybe something like that, which means now I want to kind of overhang buildings a little bit on that area. Just a little bit. What is the scale of my buildings? Okay. Hey, Mike! Cliff edges are hard to represent indeed, sir. So this is going to be an interesting one, because I'm actually drawing like 4 levels, and the city, or you can see like the bottom layer right down there, but the city is tiered between 2 cliff faces. So I think I'm not gonna have to worry too much, I don't think, in that it's just gonna look like this a little bit, but we're gonna have lots of shadow and stuff like that going on. I think for this purpose we should be okay. But yeah, like I did one which was a city between 2 cliffs, and that was a real bugger. That was a real bugger to get right. Hey, Monsieur Brian, good to see you. Mike's been trying to conceptualize a waterfall city, which large pedestals with parts of the city and bridges interconnecting. That's a lovely idea. That's a lovely idea, that. Yeah, Mike, I was working on this city a long time ago, and then commissions took over, and so I stopped working on the city. In fact, it was probably more than a year ago, because that was in COVID time, and I wasn't mapping this map in COVID, so it's probably about 2 years back. And then I've got 2 commissions on my plate right now that I am not allowed to stream. And so I'm working on other stuff in the evenings, and I'm doing like the secret stuff off to one side. I mean, I keep meaning to ask them, like, can I? But it literally says in the contract, you cannot show this to anyone until after it's published, and you know you've got permission to do it. And the publisher is Chaosium, so I'm not gonna mess around with them. I mean, I don't mess around with like my regular clients at the best of times, but if they say no showing this off, I'm like, alright, I'm not going to show it off. But yeah, it gives us an opportunity to work on the fun stuff. That's what I'm going to do right now. Or I should say, the personal stuff. The personal projects. I appreciate you saying that. And I do, I mean, I've looked at some of the Wizards of the Coast. I assume that's what you're talking, WOC, right? Wizards of the Coast. I mean, I've seen some of their maps. I mean, they have Mike Schley doing a lot of their maps, and Mike Schley is like an awesome guy, and I love his style. But I've seen other maps, and I can hang. I can absolutely hang at that level. I feel very confident of that. You know what I can't do though? Hang with their timelines, because they're also the type of shop that like, hey, we need a map, we need it in 2 weeks' time. And I'm the girl that's putting in 100 hours on that map, and I'm a year out, you know. And that kind of limits my appetite for getting involved with certain people. Plus, honestly, I'm kind of charging rates that they probably don't want to pay. If they want to pay big rates, they get Schley involved, because he's a true artist. That's their artist. I think every publisher probably has their artist that they have on staff that they go to for the showpieces. And Schley is that to Wizards of the Coast. I'm not sure who does the official Game of Thrones maps. I was actually approached to do Game of Thrones maps. I kid you not. Years and years and years ago, they contacted me. And it just didn't pan out. I don't know, even it didn't go anywhere. But that's probably a good thing too, because it's only been pretty recently that I've really started to experiment with my styles and drawing methods and everything, and trying to hone them and get them better. And I think anyone that contacted me years ago, they were going to get that version of me, and they were never going to get anything different, which doesn't suit everyone. I feel like I should be actually drawing this stalagmite style. I've just done all of those buildings on the wrong layer. I'm going to move them. I'm going to move them right now. There we go. There we go. And we'll merge that there. Beautiful. Yeah, you know, the Cartographers Guild is one that I've really wanted to get engaged with far more. But and maybe now I can. Now I'm doing commissions off camera, and actually I want to take less commissions, except for select clients. Maybe I can. It used to be a timing thing. I can't spend time just drawing something off to one side for the sake of drawing it. But I've started to shift away from that stance recently. Less commissions, more just stuff for me, and honestly, actually, potentially just drawing stuff and giving it away. So I think potentially it could be. It's on the eve, or the brink of me more officially engaging with the Cartography Guild, without a doubt, and doing things like that. I think the timing is definitely getting there. It's definitely right. I have to shift something because I just end up drawing a lot of commissions, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it misses something when I do that. I mean, some commissions absolutely stretch me. You know, and they get me doing something I wouldn't normally do. Look at the Viking map that I did recently. There's no way I ever would have approached a border like that on my own. But, like you say, the Cartography Guild now will do that for me. So, yeah, maybe. Mike, have you got a link? Oh no, you can't post links in the bloody chat. Damn it. I've got to look into the YouTube permissions, because I don't mind if you posted links. But yeah, I'll have to look you up. I want to see your work. Well, Mike, okay, funny story. I like the work I do. I think there are some pieces that I do that stand out there, and I can hold my head high, and say, that's a nice piece. So I'm confident in my skill level. I am. But I also have a day job. And I was very, very quiet on social media. Like, I was very, very, very focused. And recently I decided to do something about that. I've actually hired a guy, Pex, he helps me, and to get louder, to get out there, to be seen. Because a couple of years ago I got asked to be a guest at some RPG conventions, including GaryCon, and it's like, people should know who the frick this guest is, So I kind of felt like I had an obligation to, get the brand, so to speak, a little bit more noticeable. So I'm glad that maybe a couple of the guys in the Cartography Guild know of me. Because a video came out once where a guy sort of did this video of, like, cartographers you must know. And I was not on the list. And goddamn, my work's good enough to be on the list. But I'll guarantee the guy that did the video never heard of me. Never heard of me. Never heard of my work. And it was kind of like, yeah, it doesn't matter if you're pretty good at what you do. It doesn't matter that you're drawing for these publishers and stuff. gotta get your name out there. You gotta get on Instagram. You gotta get on Twitter, you know? So that's what I've been doing for the last year. Forrest, Jesus Christ, man. Way to come into the chat. Forrest, who's on the Cartography Guild, got into a fight with someone and left. Forrest, it's good to see you, my friend. Mike, you possibly did. You possibly did, because I have an account on the Cartography Guild. I posted a couple of pictures on the Cartography Guild, but I'm talking about 2014, you know. I don't go there, though. I don't hang out. I don't share what I've been doing, and I should. I should. Alex, I'm sure you're on a few lists. Did I make rivers split? What are you talking about? What rivers? Was it a name of a map? Explain. I have questions. Oh, the one-bar lines or something, Forrest? I'd love to see that tutorial. Oh, Forrest, gotcha. But, you know, I've got to be honest with you. I love, personally, seeing multiple ways of doing something. Like, it's hardly one size fits all, right? And, you know, maybe because I am a big miniature painter, too. But I'm a big believer, because it's like I watched a tutorial today. This is a side story, okay? I watched a video today about how to paint yellow. And the guy basically says there are lots of different ways to paint yellow. And there are lots of different results that you can get. That's not the question. You know, the question is a lot more precise than that. But anyway, he went on to demonstrate something like 10 different ways of approaching yellow on a miniature. And so it's like, pick the way that suits you for the results that you want to get, and the tools that you have, and the tools that you're comfortable with. I'm like that with mapping. I'm like that with colouring. This is why I'm continually experimenting and trying to get better. And if I read one article that talked about how to do the rhombol lines, or whatever they're called, and another article that talked about a different way of doing it, I would try them both, use the one that I preferred, maybe end up mixing and matching and coming up with a third way, you know? It's odd. It's odd that someone would react that way. And Mike, you're right too on the whole the map thing. I've actually talked about that in various interviews and stuff. It's like, you can make a map do whatever you want, but the more you do it, the more it starts to break the brain, and even subconsciously, you start to struggle with the map. So I think there has to be a certain tolerance and a certain balance. Otherwise, it starts getting out there, right? So you're right. Mike, there is a, if you're talking about my Discord, yes, there's a maps channel. Post whatever you like there, I would invite it. Oh, Jesus, Alex, yes, those would be some good examples to get you on a list. Oh shit, Forrest, post that in my Discord. I want to see that. Even if it's a link to the original. Yeah, I think literally the channel is like, what, hashtag maps. It's probably not called hashtag in Discord, is it? kind of new to the whole Discord thing. Forrest, you are a rock star, sir. I look forward to seeing that later on. How's work going, by the way, Forrest? Is this your last week of double shift? Oh, I'll take a look at the D&D game. I look forward to that. I ran Call of Cthulhu on Saturday. It is good to be gaming again. Good to be rolling dice, you know? If we have another lockdown, I'm gonna be really, really sad. I have got back in and so excited about gaming all over again. Or maybe some point later this week, Forrest, you and I can hang out. You can give me all of those magical tricks that you've been honing your skills on. I tell you what, Mike, I think that's actually really common. And I say that from experience, because when I first moved to Portland, it dawned... So actually, let me tell a story. In England, my D&D group was the group of friends that I had at school that I accumulated through Dungeons & Dragons. Because I'm the one that introduced it to my school. Which is aging me, but I'm happy to admit it. And we all carried on playing with a couple of dropouts until we were like 30 years of age, right? So we played for like 14 years together. Then I left England and I came over here. And I didn't play for a short while, moved to Portland, want to find another group. And I was used to playing with my very dear friends from real life, right? And I just took, I think a lot of things for granted. And then when you're finding, you're starting from scratch, and you're dealing with some right goofballs, or just people with personality disorders of various descriptions, it dawned on me that this is a very sociable game, you know? And it's actually difficult to get a group of, let's say, 4, 5, 6 people that just fit and get along and have similar senses of humor and want the same type of thing out of a game. It's tough, man. It is tough. Two-hour slots for a one-shot? No, 2 hours. No, 2 hours. That's shorter than a convention game. A convention game is at least 4 hours. Anything less than that, no. No, that's... I don't even know what to do with a 2-hour slot. Shit, man. My group spends 2 hours just catching up from the last couple of weeks that we haven't been gaming and bullshitting. There's your 2 hours, offo. Can't get anything done in 2 hours. we got our group together actually through something called Meetup. I guess it was. I don't know if Meetup's still going. And it was actually so popular that something like 30 people turned up. And we formed a whole bunch of different gaming groups from it. And I think ours was the only group that kept on going. But I'll tell you what. Like, we probably had about 10 people in the first group. We lost one every session until we were about 6. We added and removed just over the years. And now there's only 2 of the original people from that particular group still in it. And so, like, if you were in an area where it was harder to actually find new people to, like, I mean, yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. What about gaming conventions? Do any of you go to gaming conventions of any description? I know for some people that's how they get their gaming fix. Mike, yeah, if you're in the middle of literally, like, bookcase, like, and that there's just, yeah, that makes it expensive and difficult. I mean, honestly, I'm in Portland, so obviously there is a lot of, like, people around here, and there's a lot of gamers, and we have a very large gaming store, which is really, really cool. But, all my conventions, I actually have to travel into the heart of the USA to get to. Like, I think there's 1 or 2 in Texas, there's several, in and around the Illinois area, if I remember correctly. So it's like I have to travel to get there. So I mean, it adds up, right? It absolutely adds up. Hey, Mr. Rodney Ford, sir, good to see you. Adventure League, it can be really hit and miss because, you know, I've played in some Adventure League stuff, and you can get some oddball players in that shit. And I don't know. I don't like the nature of that type of thing. I know that some do, but I don't know. I want more of a permanent thing, permanent group, familiar faces, you know, familiar characters around me. That's what I want. There you go, Mike. There's plenty of gaming up here. Plenty of gaming up here. There's even a lot of wargaming too, which surprised me. Oddball DMs. Absolutely. I mean, I'm knocking on players right now, but look how hard it is to actually get a good player, a good GM. There's some pretty shitty GMs out there. There are. Mike, nothing wrong with that. I had to GM because I was the one that got the rules and read the rules. Everyone else is like, Dungeons and Dragons, what's that? So I had to run it. So I ended up loving DMing, and it actually got me out of my shell because I used to be an extremely shy person. So I like GMing. But I do like to play occasionally. And Brian, right? Exactly. Some combats are way longer than 2 hours. There's nothing you can get done in a 2-hour period. I would explain my character in a 2-hour period. Alex, I bet you've got some stories. Mike, that's the point. Yeah, I love Call of Cthulhu. I love the narrative, story-driven system that it has to it. I like the setting. I like this thought of mankind being this infinitesimal little ant, and there being other things beyond the veil. And as you peek beyond it, and you start to see it bigger and bigger, and your character starts. I love it. Everything about it, I really love. But I've played so many games, and I'll play anything. I'm just a huge fan of tabletop role-playing games, you know? Well, the Forge group is going to fight the Clockwork Dragon. Why September? How do you know it's happening in September? Have you got some kind of, like, schedule here, or what? Alex, you mentioned earlier running the 72-hour game. I've done one of those. We did it accidentally. It's like we were all playing on a Friday or something, Friday night, whatever it was, and it just, before we knew it, the birds were singing the following morning, and so we were like, screw it, let's just keep going. And it was Sunday that we were like done with it, and it was such a blast. Everyone had fun. But we were like 16 or 17 or something. We had no cares, no responsibilities, and all of the energy in the world. I tried doing it again when I was like 40. And it's a different experience. It is a different experience. And everyone at the table was like in their 40s and 50s. I'll tell you what, we almost died. They were going to be real life casualties from that one. And that was including sleep too. We were like, screw it, we can't do it. Everyone bivouac down. People were sleeping on the floor. Even with sleep. And then we went out for breakfast the following morning. It wiped us out. Can't do that shit anymore. And I really wanted to as well. I really wanted to so much. Forrest, we've got someone like you in our group, actually. He just doesn't drink, and so if he ever has even just a little bit, it hits him pretty hard. Your gaming session always starts in September and then runs through April. That's interesting, Rodney. That is interesting. Brian, I see what you're doing over there, Brian. But you're right. I'll tell you what, 2-hour session, Pathfinder, 1 monk doing some wrestling. There's your 2 hours done. Forrest right now is like, what are you doing? In fact, you know what? Forrest, you're right. Hold on. Forrest is right. He hasn't even said anything, but he's right. God damn that little fella. Alright. Here we go. Let's do it properly. I got my mask on. Don't delete anything permanently. I hear you. So what do you do all of the other time, Rodney, after April? Like, do you just not game? Literally, April comes around and you're like, alright, so see you in September. Is that literally what you do? You take the summer off. That literally makes no freaking sense. That makes no sense. Unless you're all doing, I guess, summer like sports and shit. I don't know. Alex, one incident was a mage who decided that wearing a bag over his head made him invisible to the orcs because if I can't see them, they can't see me. Died in a hail of arrows. Sounds like he deserved it. Now, was his player just being a dope? Or were they trying to be funny? What the frick? Then another incident was the mage who used Fireball, 2nd edition version. Yeah, the 33,000 square feet concussive one in a bar brawl. I'll tell you what though, who here hasn't been in the group where mages would just go nuts with fireballs? Lightning bolts less so. Calculating the angles, remember that shit? Bouncing them off walls back when you could do that? But fireballs, the minute that you were 5th level and start throwing around a fireball, it was the answer to every argument. It absolutely was. Yeah, but why do you not game in the summer? That's the bit that I'm puzzled about. I want answers. I mean, we're gaming in the summer. It just changes the type of beer that we drink. I'll tell you what, I think my Obi-Wan mentor would be happy that I'm using the mask tool so well. Alright, I want to know, Forrest, the story behind fireballing your own party. I've had a mage fireball her own party, and once, I think it was me that was in it, he was like, oh, you're a thief or something, because couldn't thieves, if they got the saving throw, they took no damage or something like that? Remind me, am I right or am I wrong on that one? And I think it was like, oh, you're a thief, you'll make your saving throw, you'll be fine. But yeah, it was a big, huge blast. I used to love the old school fireballs. Napalm. Rodney, I think the equivalent for me and your summer off, and I get the recharging actually quite a bit. For me, it's like I will run a chapter, let's say, of Masks of Nyarlathotep, and it will last, let's say, 5 months, 6 months. Then I stop, and Jack actually takes over and he runs a different game. He'll run Shadowrun, and he'll do it for 3 or 4 months or so. That's the equivalent of me getting a break, and I get to play during that time, and then start reading up and preparing for the next chapter of Masks. So I get actually the whole recharging thing quite a bit. But I've been doing a recharge thing for since I started gaming. Like, I would run for, let's say, a year and a half, and then once my game was done, someone else would take over for a year and a half, and I would get to play. And I'm like, it was brain off. I didn't have to prepare anymore or anything like that. And it was a reset. And in between D&D games, we would run something else. Gangsters, Boot Hill, Shadowrun, superheroes. It didn't matter what it was. Star Wars. Something different than Dungeons and Dragons. And that was our reset as a group. Like, we were just doing something frivolous and it didn't really matter. We got to see all of these other rules, and it was. I am a big advocate of that, actually. So, Forest story, the fireball, me and another player spent forever setting up arrow slits on the doorways to shoot spiders in a room, and the fighter tore it all down to engage a melee. So you fireballed her and spiders. I understand that. I understand that. Alex, continuing her story, so you can imagine the surviving party members having to explain why a tavern just exploded in a ball of eldritch fire in the centre of town to the commander of the city watch. Yeesh. Yeah, but if you've been the GM of every season for 12 years, no, I get it. I get it. That break in between your sessions is your reset. I get that. I have the luxury of Jack being an awesome GM, and so I go, okay, my chapter's done, and Jack off into Shadowrun land, you know, and there's my reset. So I get you. See you, Mike. Don't be a stranger. Thanks for hanging out. Remember though, back in the day too, I forget what the range of a fireball was, but like, you know, if you got your party members all lined up, you know, in a group, and you got your mage at the back, and you got like the bad guys all over here, you know, raring to go, and you got your code, and the mage would be going, okay, so I'm gonna center my fireball here, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, that will do it. Or they would sense it here, and they would count off, and it would be like, okay, yeah, the fireball ends right there in front of the whoosh. Because I think you used to be able to target empty squares and shit back then. Those were the days. I think this is why some people still love the old school role playing. For me, my brain can't handle it now. Just can't handle it. With our group now, we've tried to get better at actually out of character vocalizing things if players are about to undo best laid plans in a really bumbling Keystone Cops like manner. You know, one of my favorite characters actually got into a real pickle because she was a thief, and she was scouting ahead in a very high tier dungeon. You know, the type where like one bad roll could just be into your character type of shit. And I'm scouting ahead, I'm checking the room, the party is like just, you know, they haven't come into the room yet, torches all subdued. And it's not like I'm hunting out the dungeon or anything, I'm just checking out the freaking room. And two friends, they're real life friends, I don't think got bored. They're like the chaos factor in our group. You know, you've always got the person that is like the real life chaos. And they were like, yeah, we'll go in the room with torches and see how she's doing. And it's like, the room, like there were scarab beetles in the wall and everything, swarms and fuck knows what else. It came alive. It came alive. And like all of the things I was doing, all of like freaking ropes and hanging on walls, it was gone. It was gone in the moment. And we had a falling out over there. I actually ended the game. But we vowed because of that moment, because we all sat down, we spoke about it, that next time if they do something like that, I'm allowed to sort of go, hold on, time out. Are you sure you want to do this? Because this is what's going to happen. And I think that's helped our group. We can say, come on, Dave. Come on. Are you sure you want to do this? And it's kind of one of those, no, I probably shouldn't. It'd be like the fighter barging through, you know, all of your plans and go, well, hold on. Are you sure you want to do this? Do you know what's going to happen? I think it helps keep the group harmony going. Yeah, I think it did expand to fill a space. It was ridiculous, but it got into math too, right? I think it was like the lightning bolts, and they would rebound off angles, but they always did their distance, so you could literally get them to go ding, 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 ding. But math, it's like throwing a grenade in bloody Shadowrun. The minute you're sitting there calculating things, I just want to play a game, you know. I remember that, Alex. Yeah, I remember that. And that's when you've got the mage going, okay, I want to calculate this. Yeah. I've got all of these bloody grey lines on this map, and I've been ignoring them. Just dawned on me. I'll have to remedy that. It's like I'm just drawing. But it's taking shape, so I'm not gonna beat myself. I better hit save, huh? What are you guys like for your rule systems? Do you prefer the like? Are you a fan of like the 5e, or you, if you've had the joy of it, are you the fan of more the old school, or somewhere in between? For me, there's a lot of nostalgia in the past, but actually, I'm not a fan of the old school anymore. Actually, you know, I'm kind of cool with the way that something like 5e means that everyone can actually do something nearly all of the time, versus the old school way where, well, your magic users now out of spells, particularly at the lower levels, you know, Mr. One Pump Chump, you're done now. Or, I don't know, your fighters were very bland. You had to do everything in the character and sort of what their look was and everything, but ultimately at the end of the day, you just fight it. I like the variety that you can do now, and I like the fact that you can just, everyone can participate. I'm a fan of that. I don't like the skill rolls in 5e, as that's fair. And Brian comes in with his Star Wars. Nothing wrong with loving Star Wars. You know what system I like, so... I have never played GURPS. I owned GURPS for the longest time. I think I still own GURPS. Never read the rules. Honestly, I could probably count on one hand the number of systems where I've actually read the rules. Honestly, like, read them. I've played them a lot more, but a game has to... The game has to inspire me. The writing has to inspire me. The rules have to be accessible for me. I've never read any rules for 5e, but I've played in a few games, but I've never read the rules. I never read the rules for Pathfinder, and I ran a game for 3 years. I have never read Pathfinder. I found reading Pathfinder books to be boring. I just wanted to play a game, you know, I just wanted to run. I let other people at the table sort of tell me what needed to happen. Well, Rodney, you just got done telling me you are the DM, so that... Or are you playing a different system right now? Forrest, what's your objection to perception and investigation? Alex, you strike me though as someone who's played quite a few systems, you know? And if anything, you're a little bit like me, where you like a little bit of this, you like a little bit of that, and you just like playing, you know, or running. I'm biased because I like Call of Cthulhu and I run Call of Cthulhu, and that's my game, that's my jam now, and I won't run anything else at the moment. Chivalry and sorcery. No, not chivalry and sorcery. Castles and Crusades. You've told me that before. You've told me that before. Castles and Crusades. Why don't I remember that? Why don't I... you know, I've never played Castles and Crusades. I think that's why. It was GMing Pathfinder, by the way, that ended my love affair with Dungeons & Dragons in general. And it wasn't the fact that I just got done running this 3-year campaign, because that's like, whatever, you know, noob. But it was so arduous, and some of the character builds were so ridiculous, and the sheer volume that could be done of damage with power built characters, you know. And one high level fight, not even epic level, one high level fight would take all freaking day. I guess you could say my GMing put me off Pathfinder. I will never play Pathfinder again. I'm done. We own a lot of it, but I'm done. Well, Rodney, that's awesome. I get that. I get that now. I'll do more with those guys too. Even if I stop doing commissions, Frog God, Troll Lord, Chaosium, I'll always do maps for them. Alex, but I feel you on that. I feel you on that. I am a genuine believer in certain rule systems, certainly settings. The GM doesn't have to read the rules cover to cover. You know, certainly certain types of rules, you know. Especially if the whole table is sitting there and they know the rules. Alright. I used to get laughed at in the group because I was the only one that hadn't read Earth Dawn. And I didn't want to read it. I didn't want to read Earth Dawn. So just tell me how to like do my particular character class and cast my spells, and I'm good. I don't need to read the book for that. And yet, flip side, we've then played Deadlands, and I loved reading the Deadland rules for some reason. And I read it cover to cover, and everyone was like, "Holy shit, she will read rules." I had a lot of fun at Deadlands. I would play Deadlands again. I only get to play. I only had the one game on that. It was a long game, you know. It lasted for a few months or so, but I want to play more Deadlands. Land of the Rising Sun, Chivalry and Sorcery. Is Chivalry and Sorcery still going? I own Chivalry and Sorcery. I never got to play it or run it. I ended up using the rules more as a resource because they had so much explained in there. Just it was like a Dungeon Master's Guide, the old school type. Population counts, types, acres, produce, the alchemy materials. God, Chivalry and Sorcery was so good for that. I had no idea Chivalry and Sorcery was still going. I literally just learned something today. That's actually kind of cool. Forrest, by the way, Forrest, you're not a complaining guy. You're quite okay. You dislike all of the character options. I think a hero is what he does, not what his stats are. I think to a degree I understand that, and I agree with you. I think there is just a predominance of people that want the rules. They need the rules to be able to tell them what they can do and what they can't do, and everyone needs to be able to participate, and I think you end up with the system that it is right now. But, you know, does it become a stepping stone to other systems where maybe the stats are less important? Call of Cthulhu, for example. I've never played Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers in Hyperborea. No. But I'd be up for it. This is one reason, by the way, I like going to game conventions. Jack and I will pick games we've never played before. And, like, at conventions, like, all of the time. And it's a great way to experience other systems. Alex, I had a rules rapist in my group. Oh, that's a phrase. Who would do everything to try and break the system to his benefit. He was not happy when I told him after a particularly big stunt that nearly derailed the campaign to write out exactly how he did that stunt. As if the players can do it, so can the bad guys. I hate the people that... I gotta be honest with you. I'm pretty... Look, at the end of the day, I don't hate anyone, you know. Well, that's a lie. But, you know, gaming-wise, if you're a gamer, you're on the table, you're rolling dice, you're having fun, you're not making other people's lives a misery, all power to you. If you're making other people's lives a misery at the table, start doing a little bit of self-reflection. That's it. My particular GM and playstyle is a little bit loosey-goosey with the rules. The rules are there as a guideline for me. It's all about the setting that you're in, and the journey that you are now on, and the stories that will unfold, you know, with everyone's participation. And the point where you're leaning on the rules, I actually don't like it. I GM'd for a group once. I GM'd for a group when I first came to Portland. And it was, let's call it Pathfinder. I think it was Pathfinder. Maybe it was 3.5. But anyway, it was around that sort of era. And I remember describing as a GM, I'm talking about this combat that was going on. And I'm very descriptive, me, as a GM. And I really like talking about my combat scenes and things like that. And I happened to mention something like, and behind you don't really see what's going on, but this is what you hear. And then the players were like sat there saying, yeah, but there's no line of sight, so we see it. And it's like, I'm doing narrative here. This is narrative time. This is when you get into it and you're meant to be imagining yourself there. This is not sitting there doing rules. If we're doing rules, then let's go off and play like an old grognard war game or something. You're missing the journey. You're missing the ambience. You're missing like putting yourself in this position. And I never GM'd for them again, honestly. Forest, at a 5e game, we had an encounter with Sturges that gave our party pause. Everyone just looked at their character sheets for an answer. It felt like people playing a video game. I could see that. That's a little bit like the story I just said about the rules, though, isn't it? It's like now we're focused on stats and stuff like that, and we're not in the game now. We're not in the setting. We're not in the story. And it's not like that there's anything wrong with that if that's what you want to get out of it. But to me, there is so much more. There's so much more than quoting rules or playing stats. See, I like the environment, old school tricks. I like having to think, coming up with imaginative ways to solve puzzles, right? That's what it's all about, man. I've got to be honest with you, I have not GM'd for a younger group that have been raised on 5e, and I have not GM'd 5e, nor will I ever. And it's probably that type of thing that would actually catch me out, because I'd be looking for different behaviours in my group that are more like you, Forrest, or Alex here, or Rodney. I'd be looking for that type of interaction and response. We probably played Wish rules wrong, Alex, back in the day. Because back in the day, it was very much like almost a trick. And if you could not answer, if you phrased your request even just a little wrong, like a GM was just waiting to jump all over it, twist your words into something dark and nefarious. So we played it probably a little bit too much like that. We never really got into the whole, well, he just says no. We never did that. Probably a little bit of a lost opportunity. And Forrest, I think that's fair too. That was one of the turn-offs for me with Pathfinder, and ironically was one of my first draws to Pathfinder. Pathfinder, when it first came out, was light on the splat books, right? And so there wasn't really too many options. And you kind of knew, as a player and as a GM, what you were getting into. Then they went splat book crazy, and all of these books, and they did the adventure paths, and like all of them are introducing new stuff, new gear, some new equipment, new feats. And as a GM, you either had to sort of go, no, you're not using all of that shit. But even then, there was still enough that was almost considered core after a few years, where players could do these monstrous builds. And honestly, as a GM, I had no idea what anyone was like even capable of doing. You know, they'd get to 9th level and suddenly they're running across a room in shadow form, hitting everything in their path or something. I'm like, what the frick is just happening right now? I was not a fan. I'm not a fan of the too much truth. You know, I'm not a fan where to build, let's say, an optimal character, you have to go off and research. You have to go off and start looking at forums and how people are like suggesting you build your character. And I'm not even a min-maxer. I'm not. But I do feel like if I played 5e, I would need to get my learn on. Otherwise, I'm going to be shit at my job, you know? Alex, I got into a fight with a player over that point, and I've had several players that would write out 30-page legal documents exactly for a wish spell, and you're the GM who would stop to read the whole thing. Right. I think having some boundaries for what you want at the table, I think, is the prerogative of the GM, without a doubt, Forrest. Without a doubt. Well, and I think you can do that too. Like, take a race like Elves and say it's an NPC only. I think you can, particularly if the setting, the campaign setting, like, lends itself to that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And you'd be interested to know, actually, that Jack did, I don't think it was 5e. Maybe it was 5e. Maybe it was, I'm telling a lie, it was 5e. But Jack ran a Oriental-based game, which was a fantasy version of the samurai and everything. And actually, on the flip side of yours, it was almost elf only, because it was an elven island. So I get you. Yeah, players that quit over things like that. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand a player who will abandon it. I mean, we're just talking about, you know, how hard it can be to get a game or a good group or certainly a good game. And you're gonna walk away because this particular campaign is no elves. That is really missing the point to me. That's really missing the point. Shit, I would love to run a game that is orcs and goblins only. And as a player, I'd be sitting there going, okay, so this is going to be a very different type of campaign. And get the joy out of that, you know? Brian, I think allowing only humans, especially in a June-like game, makes total sense. Total sense. I think just some people don't understand the variety, you know, or the joy of variety that they could be having. I mean, there was one game that we played once where I wanted to play a goblin. He's going to be a goblin shaman. And Jack was the GM. Jack allowed me to do it. We have a rule as players that you can't be disruptive to the game or the rest of the players. he was a useless sack of shit. But you know, I'm gonna play Goblin. We had one player who could not wrap his head around it. He was like, literally, he was gobsmacked. I broke his brain because he was like, but why? Goblins are evil. You can't play a goblin. They're the bad guys. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to play a goblin that isn't evil. I'm going to play a goblin that is actually just, you know, he's a shaman type. He ended up actually not playing the game. Underdark would be a great one to play. Oh, Jack, you're right. Of course it wasn't 5e. It was that custom homebrew shit that was crap. Yeah, you'd be better off actually running 5e. Of course it wasn't 5e. I liked Nibgit, but we did all learn something from that. Actually, maybe someone else was running, because Jack, you were like a character in that game too. Who the hell was running? Who was running that one? Anyway, we realised in that particular game that if you've got a character that's all... I don't want to say that it's there for comedy, but isn't going to be super effective in a fight because he's too busy doing something like picking fucking flowers or something in the back on his initiative, then you can get away with one character in the group that's going to be like that. You can't get away with two, and it can't be all of the time, because then it becomes disruptive to the game. So we learned something as a group. I learned something about me as a player. I would like to, I would like, Brian, like, if you did, like, all humans and one person can play a droid, I think there's nothing wrong with that. That's got some good vibes going on already. And Forrest, I think that's a good observation. I think you're right. Yeah, no, I think you're right. The rules are everything. Yeah. I'm going to do a little bit more drawing, folks. Just a little bit more, then we'll be calling it for the night. I will be streaming the usual Tuesday, Wednesday this week. I don't think there's anything special that's going to interrupt. I don't think. We're doing a lot of interviews and stuff for Necropolis. And so there may be some disruption, but I don't think it's typically at the time that I stream. So I think we're going to be okay. And depending, we might come back to our Age of Antiquity map and actually work on that a little bit if the client gets back to me on labels. We're at the labeling stage on that one. So we shall see. If they don't get back to me, then obviously I can't work on it. I mean, I could work on it a little bit, but not much. Not much that would make a show out of it. But it'd be nice to revisit that one as we kind of put a bow around it. I got you, Brian. I got you. That actually, Alex, is one game or one system that I have not done enough of. I would like to play more superhero style games. Probably gonna have to do that though in conventions, I suspect. Not enough gaming time. But then, not enough time for anything, really. I'd like to play more games. Just don't know when I would do it. I think this is gonna be about the point where I end this tonight. I might come back to it tomorrow. Not sure what we're gonna do tomorrow. I feel like I need some solid projects that we can all relate to. This is kind of one, but I don't know if you really want to watch me drawing this every single night. And then I've got that, you know, obviously the cosmology map, which I really, really, really want to work on. And I actually enjoy working on it. But also, it is me just adding a whole bunch of labels right now, and I'm not sure what everyone's taste is for that. It's different. It's basically an hour and a half of watching me with an Excel file. So, you know. But, maybe we'll work on something different. Maybe I'll just start drawing like old New York or old London or just something just different. You know what I'm saying? Experiment with some styles or something. Do some recoloring projects on maps where I'm not particularly happy with the coloring. Maybe draw some villages and shit like that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. And Brian's adding Patrick Swayze to his Star Wars game. You go, fella. You be you. See, female Null Ranger, that's good. We used to be big, huge fans of, like, playing Minotaurs. Null Ranger. Lizardman Mage. Loved Lizardmen as PCs. A Goblin Cleric and an Orc Thief Scout. Goddamn, Alex. I'm in. That's what I'm talking about. And a Kobold Fighter. What's a not to freaking love? That's awesome. Alright, so this is a good stopping point for me. I'm going to end it here. I will be back tomorrow. I have no idea what I'm going to be working on, but we will find that out together. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, everyone. It was fun actually just talking about role-playing games. Like, a lot of fun. Yeah. I guess I'll see you then. No, but seriously, much love to all of you. Thank you so so much. I think we're going to have Jack on the show Wednesday, so watch out for that. So until then, everyone have a great one, and I'll see you on the flip side. Good night,